I think there's just a bunch of people who love GMOs so much that they search all over Facebook and all over YouTube and find anybody saying anything bad about GMOs and they have to make a comment and tell them how stupid and unscientific they are.
I think the pharmaceutical companies are the real criminals because they're jacking up prices.
Less processed foods, because that's going to cause, processed foods cause a lot of chemical imbalances, inflammation, which will affect your cellular stress, oxidative stress.
Hey friends, welcome to my new show, Health Conspiracy Reloaded. My name is Nick Brannigan. First of all, I'm complaining about that intro. The first guy holding the sign's wearing the leather jacket. I'm very bothered by that. I asked the lady who made it if she could take it out. She didn't answer. Nonetheless, I did not give her a 5-star review on Fiverr. And there's a thing, one of them says vaccine injuries, one of the other signs says vaccine safety. When I first made it, I realized, wait, why would I put vaccine safety in there? That doesn't make sense. I said, replace it with gut health. And she put gut health in, but she didn't take the vaccine safety out. It cost me $10. What are you going to do? So that's my beef with the intro. So today, interview with Lance McGowan, author of the 30-Day Guide to Reducing Stress at Work. Quickly and easily reduce stress with natural solutions. Lance is a buddy of mine. He is also a Las Vegas local. So very much looking forward to sharing that interview with you. I'm going to go over a clip from MMA fighter and former WWE champion CM Punk talking about the legality of cannabis and what he really thinks about Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical industry, the saints of the world. To close the show out, I'm going to play a clip from The Vault. A very special episode from my previous show, Health Conspiracy Radio, with the one, the only, the late, great Liam Scheff. Liam was a friend of mine who had passed away this year. And I'm going to play a clip of our very first interview together, all the way back, March 2013. But before we get into all that, let's get into totally not sarcastic news.
Totally not sarcastic news.
Tengo el sonido de la lata. Ponte sexy, ponte maníaca. Invita a tus amigas que yo tengo la mata.
Sosobritamusic.net.
¡Coge! ¡Que tú cogemos! ¡Fuera de la raza, que raza corto! ¡Coge!
Stop saying woke.
So the first story on totally not sarcastic news, Monsanto hires army of trolls, of internet trolls, not literal genetically modified trolls that they created in the lab to go over the big organic industrial complex. No. Is it true? Has Monsanto hired internet trolls? I find that hard to believe. I think there's just a bunch of people who love GMOs so much that they search all over Facebook and all over YouTube and find anybody saying anything bad about GMOs and they have to make a comment and tell them how stupid and unscientific they are. That's real. Those people are real. There are people who have absolutely nothing better to do with their time than to shame mothers who want to feed their baby organic formula. I don't believe there's real internet trolls. So let's read the article. Let's read the article from march-against-monsanto.com. Correction, march-against-monsanto.com. Recently, a scandal unfolded involving Monsanto and a former EPA official over leaked emails showing a collaborative effort to kill further research on glyphosate, the active ingredient, and potential cancer causer in the company's flagship weed killer Roundup. Now Monsanto is taking even more heat over its alleged paying internet trolls to combat negative comments about its business and products, while also citing alleged ghost-written and highly biased or even pseudoscientific reports in order to defend its image from online commentators. Listen, Monsanto is a company created from the butthole of angels. They are ethical. They are moral. They have values. They love children. They love unicorns and ponies. They would never do anything to hurt humanity. And if for some reason people thought they were doing things to hurt humanity, they would never hire people to pretend that they're not getting paid from Monsanto to combat organic propaganda. That wouldn't happen. What planet do you people live on? Have some faith. Make me sick. Continuing with the article. According to this report from the website RT.com, court documents gathered by Watchdog Organization and U.S. Right to Know allege that Monsanto is targeting all forms of dissent online under a program called Let Nothing Go, which targets everything ranging from Facebook comments to news articles and in hopes of changing the true narrative about its products. A series of third parties with no connection to the industry were allegedly employed to address all forms of internet comments and discussions with comments in support of GMOs, Roundup, and other Monsanto-related interests, while also downplaying the risk the plaintiffs allege. Okay, again, allege. And first of all, that's from RT.com. That's from Russia Today. This is more Russian propaganda, because that's real. That's not a distraction from wars and Middle Eastern genocide. It's not that Russian propaganda is not a distraction from real issues. Let's talk more about Trump's tweets and not about what he's actually doing to kill people around the world. Anyway, I just have a hard time believing this. They're an ethical company. For example, it didn't come out that Kevin Folta received $25,000 in a prominent scientist from a university in Florida. It didn't come out that he received $25,000 from Monsanto to use at his will. Well, that did come out in emails. But you got to take Kevin's word for it. He claims to be this brilliant guy who knows everything there is to know about GMOs. He says he drinks Roundup, but he doesn't understand the definition of the word ties. When people said, do you have ties to Monsanto? He said, no, I don't. Then when people say, hey, you received $25,000 from Monsanto to use at your leisure, their words, he said, oh, I didn't understand the definition of the word ties. That's totally believable. And I'm not being sarcastic. This is really how I feel. I'm not being sarcastic at all. Either you believe Kevin Folta is a liar and he knew he had ties to Monsanto, or you believe he's a complete freaking moron and he didn't understand the definition of the word ties. You have to pick one. But either one doesn't make him look good.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
Stop saying woke.
Okay, we have more on Monsanto, but before we get into that, there was a study done. These people make me sick. Comparing vaccinated children to unvaccinated children. Now, first of all, I support shooting in heavy metals, aborted fetal tissues, bovine growth serum, and Roundup, by the way, which is found in vaccines. I support putting it into children, because why wouldn't you? What do you want, dead children? What are you, Jenny McCarthy? You don't support putting heavy metals and other neurotoxins into children via injection? It's not like a representative from Monsanto said Roundup is toxic if it's injected into your body versus eating it. It's not like that was actually said on a nationally syndicated television show.
They actually injected the Roundup formulation into the abdomen of the animals, and they did have an effect. But that's not a relevant route of exposure for somebody who's going to be spraying that herbicide.
Well, let's get on to the article. This is from greenmedinfo. greenmedinfo.com. When you know when the word green is in your website address, it's like earth propaganda. Stupid. Anyway, the vaccinated children were significantly more likely than the unvaccinated to have been diagnosed with the following: rheumatitis, other allergies, eczema, dermatitis, a learning disability, autism spectrum disorder, how dare you, any neurodevelopmental disorder, learning disability, ADHD or ASD, and chronic illness. The following was a breakdown of the specific results for vaccinated children. ASD was 4.7-fold higher in vaccinated children. ADHD risk was 4.7-fold higher. Learning disability risk was 3.7-fold higher. Vaccinated children in the study were 3.7 times more likely to have been diagnosed with some kind of NDD. Again, neurodevelopmental disorder for you morons out there. Preterm birth and vaccination was associated with 6.6-fold increase odds of NDD. Vaccinated children were also significantly more likely to be diagnosed with an immune-related disorder. The risk of allergic rhinitis, commonly known as hay fever, was over 30 times higher in vaccinated children, while the risk of other allergies was increased 3.9-fold, and the eczema risk was 2.4-fold. That's just scratching the surface, but let me tell you, this is pseudoscience. And why is it pseudoscience? Because I disagree with it, and I'm unable to explain why in a logical manner. That's what makes it pseudoscience. This is what we do. And you know how else I know this isn't true? Snopes.com. Snopes.com, the debunker, mythbuster superheroes of the internet, said that this isn't true. It's not like they say everything that goes against the status quo isn't true. It's not like they say that. Well, they do say that, but it's because they're just good at what they do. Snopes is amazing. I'm totally not being sarcastic.
But stay woke.
Stop saying woke.
I'm gonna play a little video from naturalnews.com. Oh God, naturalnews.com. Are you kidding me? I'm just gonna say crank, quack, pseudoscience, whatever word I use to describe these guys without actually debating anything that they have to say is what I'm gonna do. This video claims that Bayer and Monsanto are joining forces. Now, well, they are joining forces, but it claims they are trying to take over the medical marijuana industry. Let's play that clip. Play that clip. So this is in its early stages. It's all speculation, but this is a good thing. Why wouldn't Bayer and Monsanto, two superhero companies, why wouldn't they combine to make cannabis more accessible? They've never, oh my God. They have never been caught doing anything bad. Monsanto does not have multiple lawsuits about putting PCBs in the water that actually has hurt people. That's not true. That's organic industry and the organic industrial complex propaganda.
The Environmental Protection Agency forced Monsanto Corporation and all other chemical plants to stop producing PCBs in the 70s. The agency determined those chemicals caused cancer as well as other negative effects on the immune and reproductive systems.
The water sometimes would be clear, and sometimes the water would be green.
For Johnny, the harm has already been done to her body.
I forget that there's people in Alabama that are actually talk about this, and they actually kind of did admit to criminal negligence or something along that. That doesn't matter. That was a different company. That was before they were bought out. I think that was Pfizer. I don't know. And Bayer has never done anything unethical. It's not like they knowingly shipped HIV-contaminated drugs outside of the country because they knew it would be sellable in the U.S. It's not like instead of disposing that, they said, F it, HIV is not real anyway, so let's just ship it out and hopefully people will be okay at the end of the day.
Why is Bayer Corporation the rat of the week?
Internal documents show that after this company positively, absolutely knew that they had a medication that was infected with the AIDS virus, they took the product off the market in the U.S. and then they dumped it in France, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. The medicine's called Factor 8. It was an injection medicine that was used for hemophiliacs, mostly children. Children had been born with an incurable disease.
Hold on, Mike. So, hold on. So you're telling me that Bayer knew that this drug was infected with the AIDS virus, they yanked it from the market in America, and then they dumped it in markets overseas?
They had to figure out a way, Joe, to make a profit on a product that they could not sell in America. So they made a huge profit. They dropped the product in Japan, Spain, and France. By the way, Joe, government officials in France that allowed that to happen actually had to go to prison for it. In America, not one corporate executive for this company has been indicted or even criminally investigated by our Justice Department.
Why not? What, you're telling me that these people that dumped this AIDS-tainted blood in foreign countries, who killed children, have not been taken to task in the United States?
It's worse than that. The U.S. government allowed it to happen. The FDA allowed this to happen. And now the government is completely looking the other way.
It's not like that's ever happened. These are ethical companies, and if you disagree, you're stupid. And I'm totally not being sarcastic right now.
But stay woke. Stop saying woke.
So a couple weeks ago, last month, in fact, there was the March Against Monsanto. I think it was the 4th or the 5th. I used to go to these marches. I stopped going to these marches. Do you know why? Because I have seen the light. Monsanto, they just want to feed the world. They started putting genetically modified corn and genetically modified soy in the food supply in 1996. That was 21 years ago, under the guise that it's going to feed the world. Let's have some patience. It's been 21 years and they haven't hit their goal yet. Okay, let's give them another 21 years. Because there's no way they're lying about it's meant to feed the world. There's no way it's a eugenics program. It's not like there's dozens of studies out there that show when you feed the non-GMO soy versus the GMO soy to hamsters and other rodents and rats, that the ones that are fed the GMO soy, it was on this side. The ones that are fed the GMO soy are sterilized. And by 3rd generation, they have gross freaking hairs growing out of their mouth and completely sterile. It's not like those studies exist. So let's give them another 21 years. Let's be patient. They're an ethical company. And they don't work for Satan. I think Satan's actually frightened of Monsanto. Hey, that was totally not sarcastic news. Did you enjoy that segment? Because I did. So I'm going to play this clip of former WWE superstar and current MMA fighter, CM Punk, real name Phil Brooks, talking about legal cannabis and what he thinks of Big Pharma. Roll the clip. There's no one over there.
Could pot save Illinois schools?
Well, you better elaborate quickly because people are going to say no.
All right, well, listen. So legalizing marijuana is obviously on the plate right now, and it's been talked about all around the country. They've legalized it, of course, in Colorado and brought in $200 million last year in the state of Colorado, which is now funding their public schools and, oddly, funding their rehab programs. What do you think, CM?
Oh boy! So you brought the straight edge guy,
right?
But neither do we.
This might floor a lot of people, but I think you should legalize it across the board.
Yeah. And that's coming from a guy who doesn't drink or smoke.
I don't drink and I don't smoke. But to me, what's worse, alcohol or marijuana?
Right.
To me, both can be crippling. You know, and you look.
Both are drugs.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's individual responsibility. You know, I understand there's people who have problems and they can get lost. But saying that you can't smoke this, but you can smoke this. You can smoke these Marlboros or, this pack of cigarettes. To me, it's a little bit hypocritical. I think the pharmaceutical companies are the real criminals because they're jacking up prices of prescription medication, in some instances, things people need, like there's that whole controversy with the EpiPen. So they can drive up prices and they can all be billionaires, but people who need medicine because they're sick, whether it's cancer, glaucoma, I don't care what it is, if it helps them, legalize it.
Yeah, right.
Make the money and funnel it into the public school systems. I mean, we're relying on Chance the Rapper to give millions of dollars to Chicago public schools. I think the governor and the mayor should be embarrassed about that.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of. And you know how I feel about pot. I'm not.
I'm honest. We've never smoked, right?
Never smoked pot
That's
in my life.
That's the best part about it. You don't like it, you don't got to do it.
Yeah.
True.
Well, that's the thing about it. Right.
Got to commend him for. He's a straight edge guy. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. Me, former pro wrestler myself, lifelong WWE fan with about a 8-year gap in there. Irrelevant. That he avoids that. And he came up in a upbringing where he saw how alcohol affected his father. And he said, nope, never doing that in my life. And alcohol is pretty much poison, even though I do enjoy a glass of organic wine from time to time. Cannabis, on the other hand, is not poison. It's medicine. And it should be accessible to everyone, and if you don't use it, you should still support its accessibility. I mean, look at all the poisonous, toxic drugs that are available over your hustler, whore, drug dealer, doctor that cause hundreds of thousands of deaths each year. Not to mention how many people are walking around like almost literal zombies because they're taking drugs that affect your brain. And CM Punk is right. Big Pharma are the criminals. This is not totally sarcastic news. They are criminals, but they should just take the drugs that they probably do. I'm rambling now. Thank you, CM Punk, for standing up for what's right, standing up for freedom, and actually calling out Big Pharma. And you know that clip will never make it on CNN, or that will never make it on Fox News or any of those urine stream psychological warfare operations we call the mainstream media, because they are almost predominantly funded by Big Pharma. So up next is my interview with Lance McGowan. He's going to talk a little bit about his book and how to handle stress. And the first half of the interview is out of focus. Okay, I'm doing this almost completely by myself, people. Give me a break. Don't judge my video skills. You judge mental SOBs. No, okay. See, now I'm getting stressed. Now I need to I need to reread. I need to reread Lance's book because, the first part is out of focus. It's still watchable. And then I fixed it in the second half. But it's a great interview, so here it is. So I'm sitting here with my buddy, Lance McGowan, who has a new book, 30-Day Guide to Reducing Stress at Work. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Lance, thanks for being here with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
So let's just start with what motivated you to make this book, because I think stress is probably a big epidemic that just flies under the radar, as if stress is a normal part of life, where maybe it has some functions, but a lot of people are feeling stressed all the time, and society sees that as normal. So I don't know if that's an accurate statement I just said, but what about this stress situation was so important that you decided to actually put it to paper and help educate people?
Yeah, I think for me it stemmed from my previous work experience. I worked for PepsiCo for almost 7 years and went through a lot of ups and downs with regards to my own stress levels, with deadlines, with expectations, with call-offs, with long hours, with rework that I had to do if I made a mistake, with tons of different things and that was also in the headquarters environment, but also the field-based people management side of things. And so there was everything from planning and execution and trying to save money all the way to hiring, firing, interviewing, which affects people's lives and their families and stuff. And so that was a lot of stress for me. I would say at the peak of my stress levels, it would probably be at like an 8 or a 9. And oftentimes my skin would break out really bad. I'd get really bad acne because my cortisol levels and adrenaline were going up, and it just affected my overall quality of life. It really brought it down. And I wanted to create a resource for people that helped them see that stress isn't just emotional, although it is. It's enough to pull your hair out, they say, which we don't have that problem with anymore, but it is also cellular, and it affects our body from an inside out standpoint too. And I just wanted to give folks an easy to read quick guide that just kind of walks through how you can manage it better, not prevent it, because now I would say my stress levels are maybe like a 2 or 3. And so I'm able to get it under control, and my skin's cleared up a lot, and I'm able to think clearer. And when I am feeling stressed, there's a number of techniques that I can do to help manage that too.
Now, you said to help people manage it better, not to get rid of it completely. Mm-hmm. Is that because stress is actually a natural part of life, and perhaps the volume of stress should be at a 1, and we've turned it up to 110? So you believe it's always going to be there, but we need to manage it better. Is that accurate?
Yeah. For me, stress is just an emotion or a feeling that occurs. It's almost like a warning sign of, hey, something's happening. Now the next question is what we're going to do with it. And so Daniel Goleman in his book Emotional Intelligence talks about how the first step is to identify what you're feeling. So it'd be like, I'm feeling stressed, right? And then it's, okay, where's it coming from? Was it from what somebody said? Was it this deadline? Was it this person calling off? Was it an expectation that was out of whack? And then the next part of that emotional intelligence is to figure out what I can personally do myself to make that situation better or improve upon it in the future. So it's identify the feeling, identify the root cause, and then identify the next action that I can do. And that's really the best that we can do. And a lot of that, I have it in my book, but it talks about the gap between your expectations and reality is frustration, frustration leads to stress. Stress can lead to anxiety. It can lead to depression. It can lead to other things. And then we go seek a professional or a doctor or something to go get those things treated, where we really should be looking at not just our expectations, that's huge, but also what we eat, and are also if or when we exercise. There's a lot of things, journaling, there's lots of ways to process or understand how we're feeling. And I think the biggest thing that we're missing as people is our self-awareness. We're not aware of what we're feeling, why we're feeling that way, or what we can do to improve.
I like that you're taking the direction of the root cause, because I just saw someone I follow on Instagram take a picture with a pharmaceutical drug in her mouth, saying that she had an anxiety attack and she has a mental disorder and it's real and she doesn't want to hide it. But none of that said why. Why are you having anxiety attacks? Why are you feeling the stress? Why is it to the point where you have to take a synthetic chemical that's destroying your body? In your opinion, why do you think most people choose to ignore the root cause? Or are they just completely ignorant to look in that direction?
I think a lot of it is we do what we know, and we're creatures of habit. And so if nobody taught us, then we're not going to know how to manage stress better, or if we did not seek it out. And so in most cases, we just are going through the motions. And, you know, in the US, doctor's king. And for traumatic health issues, a doctor's great. And that's for broken bones, gunshot wounds, car accidents. But for the daily things that we have no choice but to experience, especially stress, actually 75 to 90% of doctor visits are due to stress. And that's huge. And up to 50% of corporate profits are being spent towards healthcare. And for 90% of companies, those healthcare costs are increasing every year. And so, and when we spend over $6.5 trillion on healthcare as a nation, and so that's huge amounts of money that is being spent towards things that are really preventable through proper diet, lifestyle, expectations, and understanding the root cause. But to answer your question, I think it's just we do what we know, and unless we're taught, then we won't do something different. And if we do have a more broken family or broken past that doesn't allow us to do that, like my mom is on her 5th marriage. My dad had 5 different kids, 4 different women, was married and divorced numerous times. I didn't know how to deal with conflict. I didn't know how to have healthy relationships. And I was set, you know, not at the starting line of the race. I was behind a few. And so I have to work harder in order to learn how to have proper relationships and healthy relationships with people, knowing that my past wasn't the case. And so for the people who don't know the root cause or otherwise, they just have to work harder. You just have to, and work smarter to overcome those things.
So does your book help people identify the root cause? Just for example, say the person I saw on Instagram, I'm sure that bottle of pills cost 5 to 10 times what this book cost. So for someone like that who has never thought of that idea, can they get the 30-day guide to reducing stress at work and be able to identify that root cause and start to go in a direction where they don't have to rely on pharmaceuticals to manage anxiety and stress?
Absolutely. And the book is really designed to walk you through from days 1 through 30, basically understanding the landscape of our healthcare system, as well as natural ways that we can improve our health and really get down to the root cause. And so a lot of it is just creating that awareness that we may not have as individuals about what's going on. I like the saying where if you don't know who the fool is in the room, it's probably you. And that goes with the marketing that we see on TV, the marketing you see on billboards or ads, or even what your doctor may or may not tell you. They don't study nutrition in most cases. Only about 6% of physicians actually get trained on nutrition, according to the Fed Up documentary. And so the Food Matters documentary. And so that is really important to note, because we need that information, we need that knowledge. And the book is really easy to read. It's like 73 pages. And I just tried to focus on providing fact-based information as well. So yeah, somebody can really, and then with every, like the longest chapter is 2 pages. And so for that reason alone, it already reduces stress. So you don't have to be like, oh, I got to read this long book that Lance created. No, it's really short. It's really quick, easy read. And there's a little wheel of emotions with every chapter. And every chapter is like a day. So day 3 is actually chapter 3. And there's a wheel of emotions, and so you can mark down how you're feeling. And then I've built in the emotional intelligence framework by understanding, okay, the wheel of emotions is identifying what you're feeling, and then the root cause is the why we're feeling that way, and then what are we going to do differently. It's all built into every single chapter, so you can kind of check the pulse of what you're feeling every day.
Yeah, I really like that you thought of the process of the reader. So as you're writing the book, you said, how can the reader read this book with the least amount of stress?
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And so from what I understand, not only do you have print copies available, you also have digital versions and also audio version as well.
Yes.
So if someone is interested in buying this book, what's the best outlet for them to do so?
Yeah, so they can do so on Kindle. They can do so with the printed book on Amazon. I also have it on iBook. And then I'll also have the audiobook version available too. And so that'll be on iTunes, Amazon, and Audible. And so for all type of learning styles, you're covered, whether you're an Audible learner, visual. Sometimes people are more tactile. They need to touch and feel stuff. And I did that on purpose because everyone has different learning styles, and I wanted to provide that. And this book is really for anyone who is a business owner, small business owner. You could be all the way up to a CEO, or you can be an entrepreneur. You could work for yourself, work from home, or it's for an employee, anybody who works for somebody else at whatever, position in the company. Because if you have a part-time job or full-time job, or work for yourself and make your own hours, salary, commission, anybody who works, it's really for them. And it's important because a lot of times we focus on growth of our business or being more profitable, but without our own body being in the right spot, we won't be able to accomplish those things well or at all. And so really tackling the biggest reason why we seek help, which is for stress. That's what this is for.
Very cool. So you're known as the tropical smoothie guy on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Is there anything in the nutrition realm that you include in the book? Mm-hmm. And if possible, if you have something, what is your go-to tropical smoothie for reducing stress or just feeling good?
Yeah. I talk a little bit about moving towards a more whole food lifestyle in the book and less processed foods, because that's going to cause, processed foods cause a lot of chemical imbalances, inflammation, which will affect your cellular stress, oxidative stress. And I have like a little chart in there that kind of summarizes both of those. I have like fun pictures in there too. Like I really want to make it low stress read, because people like pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? They say video's worth 1,000,000, but there's that aspect. And then, I do a green smoothie every day. I don't have a recipe in there, but for future books, I may include some recipes on different things that I'm going to focus on. But I do kind of it's really good for an introduction to natural solutions for people. What we eat, what we do, natural remedies for things. And that's going to give you the most energy. It's going to help you repair your cells. It's going to give your mind what it needs from an essential fatty acid standpoint. So I kind of touch base a little bit on that, kind of really just painting the picture for the what it is you can do and why, but the how-to is more with the coaching or consultation or the follow-ups that people may take. I mean, there's a free 15-minute wellness assessment that I offer for folks on my website with a special code in the book, so that somebody can really walk through, okay, here's my whole health situation, and then I can look at that and then work with them to take them from where they are to where they want to be. Because a lot of things in the book are common sense, but they're not common practice. But what I encourage people to think about is, can an NFL team survive without a head coach? And the question is no. It almost seemed kind of weird. And it's because they provide and set the vision, and they hold their people accountable. And now that's kind of what coaching, or the principle of what I offer outside of the book, is. It's a way for you to close that gap. You want to win championships or Super Bowls, but in the context of your health, you want to have a high quality of life and reduce your disease risk. The best way to close that gap and get that is education through the book, but also some type of accountability and vision setting as well.
And I think this book would be a perfect companion to any book that teaches organic plant-based nutrition, because you can drink all the green smoothies all day, but if that mental stress is there, the chemical process that it's going to go throughout your body is going to, I guess the best word is to counteract all the good things that the smoothies and organic nutrition should be doing. So one last time, give us the best website for people to connect with you and to buy the 30-day guide to reducing stress at work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of plant-based nutrition and want to help people to make it more of a lifestyle for sure, not a diet or a fad. And the best way that people can stay connected is just going to lancemcgowan.com. That's LanceMcGowan.com. And then I have more information on there on the overall health situation when it comes to a lot of the corporate environment, but also the work environment for folks. And then I have a couple links on my website on how to do the wellness assessment once you get a copy of the book, and then go from there.
Very cool, Lance. I'd like to thank you for being the first in-person guest for the new show, Health Conspiracy Reloaded. I encourage everyone to go to lancemcgowan.com, get a copy of the book. It's only $10. That's way cheaper than all the pharmaceuticals. You can get a pack of your former employer's drink for, well, I guess you can get a 12-pack of soda for a nickel, but anyway, lancemcgowan.com. Get a copy of the 30-day guide to reducing stress at work. And there it is. That was my interview with Lance McGowan. Please support Lance's work. Go get his book on Amazon.com or any of the sources that he named. Now, this next clip is it's just a clip, and you can get the full. I'm going to upload the full interview on this YouTube channel and also at healthconspiracy.com. Liam Scheff passed away just a few months ago, and he was not just a guest that I had on the radio show. He was a friend of mine. I first got the idea to get into radio in about the late summer of 2012. So I started listening to the Robert Scott Bell Show on Natural News Radio. I started listening to Liam Scheff, and I became a fan. He was very fun, very entertaining to listen to, but he was smart, and he knew what he was talking about. 6 months later, 3 months later, I have a show. 3 months after that, I invite him on, and we just hit it off because I already had a feel for his personality. I know we had a lot of similarities, and he's probably been on the show at least 12 times. I think the only person that's been on the show more than him is Dr. Somia Schroeder. And that's actually where I met Dr. Somia, is at a talk that Liam gave out here in Las Vegas after we had this great time on the radio. He asked if he can come out. I can help him promote some talks. I did. We met, made a lot of connections. He met people through me. I met people through him. And we became friends, and he came out to Las Vegas again. And we drove out to Los Angeles together, me, him, and my daughter, and did the very great interview called The Marriage Conspiracy with our good mutual friend, Benny Wills of Joy Camp, which I might re-upload to my main channel at some point. And something happened where he got a dental procedure and something went wrong and affected his neurological system, affected his brain. He described it as like a jackhammer going off in his brain 24 hours a day. And he was medicating himself through pharmaceuticals just to be able to close his eyes and dream at night. And I still haven't processed that he's gone. It'll hit me sometimes and I'll cry, but it still doesn't seem real to me. I find it hard to believe that I'm never going to do a radio interview with him again, and that he's never going to come back out of here and I'm never going to see him again. It just doesn't seem real to me right now. He was messaging me on Facebook even as early as 2 weeks before, talking about doing one last radio show. And my response is, yeah, just let me know when you're good and we can do it. And we never did. And I'm actually happy about that, because I feel like it would be doom and gloom the whole show, kind of knowing the state he was in and knowing how he was. And I feel like that would just be a really sad show. So instead, I've been listening. I've only listened to like 2 or 3, but all of our old interviews, and I love them. It's one of the greatest things about doing radio all those years ago, is that I have these archives of these shows with people that, I build relationships with everyone that comes on the show. And sometimes that relationship lasts the duration of the show, and sometimes it's still happening till this day. And even though he's gone, that's a relationship, and hearing those shows, that no one will be able to take that from me. I'm always going to have those memories of us doing great radio, and I'm never going to meet anyone like him again. You could probably say that about a lot of people, but there will never be another Liam Scheff. If you're interested in his work, I don't know where the funds go to, but his book Official Stories, is still available on Amazon. And at some point, I'm going to just have on healthconspiracy.com just a full page just dedicated to Liam and all the shows that we did together. So do we got Liam on Skype? Is he on the line?
Hey there.
Hey, Liam, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm in Maine. You're in Las Vegas. I hate you a little.
Is it past your bedtime in Maine?
No, come on, no.
Now, it's a little chilly here. Is it? Do you have Canadian weather up there right now?
Yeah, shut up. It's a little chilly there.
We're wearing jackets.
I had my hoodies zipped up today.
I'm wearing 3 jackets.
Are they thick jackets or give us how cold? I almost said something bad.
I know. How cold is it? The old Johnny Carson. I'm looking up the temperature right now. It's got to be 28.
Okay, yeah, I think it's 50 and change here, but there was a little wind today, which kind of makes me shiver.
You know, it's getting me above freezing. So we're a little above freezing. Exciting.
Okay.
Exciting time. Time to barbecue.
So you can spit and it won't freeze right away.
Time to put on the shorts.
All right, Liam. So before we get into the book, I think this is just a basic question I'm going to ask all of our guests. Is there a health conspiracy?
Yes.
Right on.
You want me to continue?
Please elaborate, sir.
Well, listen. It's a funny world, and I like to read history. I'm sure that the ancient Roman Empire was full of very wealthy guys trying to get over on the majority of people. A great many people were considered slaves, although slavery wasn't what we would think of slavery in the 14, 15, 16, 1700s, or in this country what's called chattel slavery or full bodily slavery. But a lot of people were essentially owned, the way a lot of people are now owned by Walmart. We don't call it owned anymore. But when you have to keep a roof over your heads by going to a job and sitting under fluorescent bloody lights all day long and coming back and not knowing who you are and not knowing who your kids are because you can't remember what day it is because you've just been working forever, that's a kind of special slavery that we now have in this country.
It's called freedom in America.
It's called freedom and democracy.
George Orwell was on the money.
Called Dancing with the Stars. We're a country of... Listen, this world is a very funny thing, and if you try to make a pure logical picture, you'll probably go a little crazy and end up being really wrong. It's a very strange experiment. It's a bit mystical. It mystifies a lot of people. The health conspiracy grew, I think, and we can talk about this, but it grew out of the death of the church. I'm not religious. I have my own spiritual interests. They're not Christian or Catholic, so don't hang me up on that peg. But we used to have a body of shaman or priests or whatever you want to call them who gave us these existential answers. Well, what is the meaning of existence? Where do we go when we die? All this other stuff. And we trusted them until we realized that they really were a bunch of creepy pedophiles and they didn't know what they were talking about. So we don't go with that anymore. And now we have to, who's going to answer our questions? So we talk to the scientists. And we've given them all this trust. We say, well, tell us, science, what should we be afraid of? The priests used to tell us to be afraid, and we burned people, and we said they were witches. If they burnt, they were clearly a witch, and if they drowned, they were a witch. And if they floated, they were probably a witch. But now we don't know who to trust, so tell us what's happening. And the health officials, we give them this power. We give them this religious power. And they say, be afraid of the bird flu. Somebody in Vietnam has a cold. You're all going to die.
And I'm glad I just want to say, I'm glad you brought up science, because that is kind of the new religion. I wrote an article last month, or this month, saying debunking the myths, the GMO talking points. They're not myths, they're just talking points. And the one they use is you're anti-science. That's the same as saying blasphemy. And it's the same as being on a playground and me insulting, Liam insulting me, and I don't know what else to say, so I just say, that's anti-science. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Bunch of morons, and now science is the new religion. It's the new cult. And I noticed too, and I don't want to get stuck on GMOs because I just ranted about them. But people that promote GMOs, a lot of them are atheists, which I don't have any type of belief system, but I think that they hate God, whatever they perceive it as, and science is their religion. So if you are against what I say, you're anti-science, and I'm so offended. So let's talk about the book a little bit. Okay, there's so much in there. I know we're not going to be able to cover everything. Can you give us just what are the official stories? I know we got 9/11 in there. We got JFK. We got the CIA. We got the HIV fraud, which I want to get into. What else is in there, Liam?
Well, this is the book that I wrote when I realized I wanted to, when I realized you don't have all the time in the world. My closest person in my life, my partner, actually, I use the word died. I don't know what word to use, but she left the planet, and I said, well, I don't know what to do, and I better, if I'm going to leave something behind, I don't have kids at this point, I better do it now. I better sum up everything that I want to leave behind. And I'm not planning to go anywhere, but you never know.
Hey, if you made it this far, congratulations. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Lance McGowan for being my guest. Thank you to the internet for allowing this to happen. I don't fucking know. So this show, it'll be on every couple of weeks. I'm doing 6 episodes throughout the summer. Then I plan on doing seasons. Runs of 12 in the fall, winter, runs of 12 in the spring, going into the summer. So thank you very much. Go to healthconspiracy.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Love you all very much. Peace. I'm out of here.
Stop saying woke.
We never say woke! I never said woke in my life! You're the ones who say woke! You can have woke! It's yours!
Woke.
It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's about getting back up. So if there's any kid out there that's told by a parent or a coach or a teacher or somebody that they look up to, somebody that's supposed to push them and believe in them, and they're told no, don't listen to them. Believe in yourself. Sometimes the outcome isn't always what you desire it to be. But the true failure in life is not trying at all. I know that sounds preachy and kind of weird for a guy who just got beat up, but